Welcome to the TV show American Light. Today we are going to receive our visitor, his professor, but I will do like to say to you, good morning, professor.
Good morning to you.
How are you?
Very much.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fine. So you can introduce yourself, professor.
My name is Hussein Hassan Muhammad, and I am professor of University of Hargeisa. I teach faculty of public health.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. As you know, this emission we are talking about technology, and me, I am Mr. Malik Sekimonyo Shamabu Christian. Thank you so much, Professor. So our topic of today is about social media and journalism. How social media can influence journalism. So do you have any idea about?
Yeah. Social media has good things in journalism. Journalism, they get many things like articles, studies, and videos to share all of them.
Oh.
Yeah, and also they make it easier to connect each other, either local or internationally. And also they collaborate and they work together for location or geography. That is your geography.
Okay.
Yeah, and so on.
Okay, so because you are a teacher, you are a professor in public health, social media also can have some influence about information in public health or what?
Yeah, that's also same thing is good thing. You know, always we are protect and decide the policy or disease, and we work together, journalists and public health. They share the news
To educate population about how
to give the awareness to people.
Vaccination.
Yeah, to give awareness, to vaccinate people, to protect themselves.
Oh, thank you so much. As you know, that is big topic, and we have many speech, and we already go to public population, public, and let us go and see how social media can influence journalism. Thank you. We are going.
Welcome back to Fun with Facts, where we explore fascinating topics. Today, we're diving into the impact of social media on our communication habits. It's no secret that social media has changed the way we interact with each other, but just how much has it changed our communication styles? Let's find out. First, let's talk about the sheer amount of time we spend on social media. According to a recent study, the average person spends about 2 hours and 24 minutes per day on social media platforms. That's over 16 hours per week and nearly 35 days per year. As a result, many of us have become more comfortable with communicating online than in person. One of the most significant ways social media has changed communication is the rise of abbreviations and acronyms. It's become common to use shorthand such as LOL, laugh out loud, and BRB, be right back, in online conversations. These abbreviations have also leaked into our in-person conversations, with many people using them without even realizing it. Another way social media has impacted communication is by changing the way we express emotions. In the past, we relied on verbal cues and facial expressions to communicate how we were feeling. However, with the rise of emojis, we now have an entire library of symbols to convey our emotions through text. In fact, over 5 billion emojis are sent every day on Facebook Messenger alone. Social media has also given rise to a new phenomenon called ghosting. This is when someone suddenly stops responding to messages or calls, leaving the other person in the dark about what's going on. According to a study, 25% of adults have ghosted someone, with 20% admitting to doing it because they were too anxious to have a difficult conversation. While social media has made communication more convenient, it's also had some negative effects. One of these is the rise of cyberbullying. In fact, nearly 34% of students have experienced cyberbullying at some point, with 16% of those cases being severe. Cyberbullying can have serious consequences on a person's mental health and well-being. Another downside of social media is the echo chamber effect. This is when people surround themselves with like-minded individuals and consume content that reinforces their existing beliefs. This can lead to a lack of exposure to opposing viewpoints, which can hinder healthy debate and dialogue. But it's not all negative. Social media has also opened up a world of opportunities for communication and collaboration. For example, businesses can now easily connect with customers and get real-time feedback. Additionally, social media has been instrumental in organizing and spreading awareness about social justice movements. Lastly, social media has also impacted the way we consume news and information. With the rise of fake news and clickbait headlines, it's more important than ever to be critical of the information we see online. According to a study, 64% of adults believe that fake news is causing confusion about basic facts and current events. There you have it, a deep dive into how social media has changed the way we communicate. While there are certainly negative aspects to it, there are also many positive effects. It's up to us to be responsible and mindful of how we use social media in our daily lives. Thanks for watching.
Hello.
Hello.
Morning.
Hello.
How are you?
Fine, how are you?
Fine, long time.
Long time.
Okay. How's everything going here?
Hey, going on.
Okay.
Where have you been hiding?
From Congo.
Yes.
I'm in some busy there
Yes.
teaching. As you know, we are teacher.
Okay.
Okay. So can we have a rest?
Yes, come with me. I want to take some tea.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Yes. You
Yes.
say where have you been hiding?
I'm from Congo.
Okay.
I've been teaching there.
Yeah.
So I have some job there also. I'm doing there.
Okay. As a professional.
Yes,
Continue.
as a teacher,
Okay. And here in Uganda, you do what here?
in Uganda also I'm teaching here in Makerere.
Yes. Us as professional.
Yes, as a
Okay.
professional. So in your side, how's everything there?
This year is better than a lot because this year the students perform good.
Okay.
Yes. You know the work as a professional is very hard.
Very hard, but we try to do our best. Because nowadays, without studying, you are nothing.
Yes, true.
Like, please, madam. Please, madam.
So you didn't take anything like samosa to eat?
No, this is for me.
Okay, thank you so much.
Do you think today about the social media?
Yes, nowadays social media is giving us good information and mostly in time.
Yes,
Yes,
sure.
yes,
Me, I think the proliferation of misinformation and disinformation has contributed to the decline. Yes, the decline to the public truth in the traditional, yes, media.
but you know, by nowadays social media has significantly influenced journalism in several times in many ways.
Yeah, me, I don't agree. Because people are rewarding this truthful. Yes, like which you can spend. Yes, like which you can harm, decline, or I mean by that one, it is like credibility of social media, of professional journalism. Yes.
Yes, I'm getting your point, but
Mm.
we must understand like social media promote
Mm.
quick access to information. That is a positive way of social media helping access information in the same time realization, and you get information.
I don't think so, because now the traditional journalists now have to spend more time, resources, verifying the information before publishing it as false information. As false information that spread quickly on the social media.
Yes, by nowadays, you, I don't know, I'm getting your point, but we have to understand the way of modernity is changed, social media changed. Before we have been using traditional way to get information, like using radio, using TV, but nowadays you can use Twitter, you can use any way, internet way to get good information in the same time as people interact.
Okay, I like to stay with you as long, but I have now. Listen, I have to go. Thank you for your time.
You are welcome, my dear. I'm still
See you
here.
soon.
Very fine. Thank you.
Welcome to you.
Hi. How does social media affect communication skills positively? I've designed and structured this video to actually make you a more effective communicator through social media. If you choose to watch this video, it'll save you a mountain of time and some of the burnout and the not so positive stuff often connected with social media. I'm Chad Littlefield. If you haven't seen me around social media and YouTube, I live on this internet place quite often, and I've learned a lot about how to use these platforms as tools to affect communication more positively, and I'm really pumped to share the tools that I know that will save you a mountain of time and burnout and make you a better communicator. Let's get into it. First, I'm gonna share a framework that totally transformed the way that I looked at social media and made it a whole heap more fulfilling. Then I'm gonna share 3 benefits or strengths of social media that you probably haven't thought of, right? There's some obvious ones, but I'm gonna share ones that you haven't thought of, and 3 tech tools that I use in my day-to-day to improve communication. Oh my goodness, this framework came from Sherry Turkle in an article titled The Flight from Conversation in the New York Times. And in it, she gave this beautiful metaphor about sips versus gulps of connection. Since I learned that, I've taken this metaphor a little bit further. And so I want you to imagine that on a hot, hot summer day, you haven't drank water in about 24 hours, and there's this nice ice cold glass of water sitting on the table, and you reach out for it and you are parched, and you pull it up to your mouth and you go, it's not very satisfying, right? It's like actually really, really not satisfying at all to just take a sip when what you really want to do is take a gulp. Social media is often used for sips and sound bites of connection rather than gulps of communication. And so this framework, when I go on to, it doesn't matter, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, I want to create gulps of connection rather than sips. I could create a series of 60-second tip videos that I post to YouTube, but I would much rather give a gulp of connection with a tutorial that breaks down more than just one teeny little sip or tip, because sips and tips are often easily forgotten. And so if you want to use social media to improve communication and improve communication skills, think about every time you log on to whatever platform it is, consider how do I create a gulp of connection or communication right now, not just a sip. With that metaphor in mind, benefit number 1 of social media is that it provides infinite amount of conversation topics. Just rewind for a minute to like the 1800s and imagine how much you had to talk about with your neighbor the one time per month that you rode your wagon 8 miles to go see them, right? It's like, what'd you do today? Farmed. What'd you do today? Farmed, right? Whereas now, before you even see another human being in life, you've probably consumed an hour worth of content, ideas, videos, some silly, some informational, something like, we have so much information pouring into our head. That's the benefit of social media, is that it has provided infinite amounts of conversation topics. It's not that we often use it as a tool to spark infinite conversation topics, but it has provided us infinite amounts of content. The caveat to that, and the tech tool that I use is on iPhones and Androids, there are now native ways to manage your screen time. So you'll also notice that the feeds of every social media platform are infinitely scrolling. So in order to spark and improve communication skills, you don't need to scroll for 87 hours. You can actually get a whole bunch of data, interesting things, learn some stuff, laugh a little bit, all in the span of 15 to 20 minutes. However, there are thousands and thousands of employees that are paid quite high salaries to ensure that you get addicted to each of these platforms. And so go into your native screen time limits and be really conscious and commit to yourself, because the tool isn't enough of a help. You also need to go in and say, okay, I want to only spend 15 minutes on Instagram per day and 5 minutes on Facebook and maybe 25 minutes on YouTube because I learn a little bit more that way, right? You get to choose your screen time, and then your device will automatically say, hey, you're at the limit. Now, being really transparent, have I set screen time limits and then just said, okay, next, because you can get out of it, right? You can like push a couple buttons and then you're right back into the app. It doesn't lock you out completely. And it's this little tool that prevents you from doom scrolling, which is a new phrase that I've heard recently, which was quite awesome to have in my brain. Second benefit, social media gives access to everyone. It does not matter if you are rich or poor, you live in Pakistan or Idaho, you have access to so much information, so much social data through social media, and you have access to connections, right? So something that really keeps classes where they are is the inability to network outside of your class, right? So poor people tend to live around poor people, so they tend to refer each other to each other. And the same with rich. When we talk about the 1%, right, we don't mix class all that much. Social media gives us a chance to step outside of our class, step outside of our immediate network and reach and learn and study from and potentially be in conversation with people outside of our class. And that communication, A, gives you empathy for people who are different than you, and that empathy allows you to serve the groups that you're serving better. One of the most important aspects to effective communication is empathy. Can you put one of your shoes in somebody else's world and describe their world as they see it? On social media, they're describing their world, so all you have to do is read it. You just read about it, just look at it. Now, granted, it might be the highlights of their world, depending on what platform, but it does give you clues into what do they care about, what are they struggling with, etc. And that can make your communication, especially if you're running any sort of business or you're offering any sort of product or service to people, including education, that level of empathy takes communication to a whole nother level that most people never reach in communication. They never get to the place of empathy where they're actually really seeing, hearing, and understanding another person's perspective. The caveat to the fact that social media gives access to all means that you have access to everyone's stuff. Or garbage. You have access to everyone's garbage, right? And I found this tech tool. This was a couple years ago, and there are tools like this for multiple different platforms. You need to Google them yourself. But I originally found it for Facebook 5 or 7 years ago, called Newsfeed Eradicator. And if you type in, or if you Google Newsfeed Eradicator, it'll pull up this plugin for Google Chrome that actually deletes your entire newsfeed on Facebook. You can stay connected with all the people that you're connected with, but when you jump on, the most addicting part of the platform is just left with a quote. So it just leaves like a little inspirational quote or something, and you don't see what your first grade buddy had for lunch that day. And that's really, really useful because it can improve your communication in the sense that you can be more deliberate and intentional. So now when I go onto Facebook, I'm only going to either groups and niches that I like to be a part of, that I like to learn from, or to send messages to specific people, as opposed to being sucked into doom scrolling, random stuff that I don't need to see, that I don't need to put into my brain. And last but not least, on the positive side to doom scrolling is viral videos, and this shared content often gives people something to connect over. So when I get together with my brother, it's amazing that somehow the algorithm has showed both of us the exact same video. And so that's awesome because we have the shared experience, we have the shared context. It's kind of like when you read the same book as somebody, you have all this shared language. And so when you see the same videos, or you're able to share the same videos with each other, it actually creates this shared experience, even if that experience is not happening at the exact same time. So the idea of social media creating asynchronous shared experiences is really cool. And you can go overboard with that. One of the books that I read this year is called Indistractable, and it was about the skill of, rather than having your apps master you, having you master your apps. And one of the most practical little tech tools that I learned was this idea right here. If you can see that, I have a folder on my phone where all of my apps, I only got 2 pages of apps. On here are all the tools that I use on a daily basis, and here I've got a couple folders, and one of them is titled Slot Machine. And everything that is a slot machine to me, which is pretty much all social media and a whole bunch of other stuff, I put in that. Meaning slot machine, the reward system of like, I have to pull the lever or I have to scroll because I don't know what's coming right underneath. So I would invite you right now to go and make a slot machine folder. It's helped my brain communicate more positively using these platforms by knowing that this could be a slot machine, but I don't want to use it as that. I should end this video by acknowledging that I fail on a very regular basis with all of this, and yet everything I shared with you, I have practiced and has made my own social media communication and life more effective, more impactful, more positive, and a bit more fulfilling and less draining. I'm Chad Littlefield. I've posted regular videos to help leaders and educators make connection and engagement easy, and social media is one of the ways we connect. Have an awesome day.
Did you finish your homework, Anamadin?
Not yet. I'm still revising.
I forgot to ask you about which topic teacher has given you to write about.
So the teacher told us to search about how social media is going to destroy our society, and now I am doing it.
Yeah, also it seems like me. I'm going to write about social media as negative side of platform is digital.
Yeah. Really. As we know that social media now is going to affect in our mental health issue, and this I can tell you that the constant comparison with others, this is going to reduce our online harassment and the pressure from the endless information, cause anxiety or depression and loneliness. So students or studies shows that, for example, study shows that the teenager spent their whole day in Instagram, for example, suffer from low or low self-esteem
Yeah.
due to comparing their life with others, which often showcase only their positive aspects.
Yeah, it is same like me. It is like the loss of editorial control. The platform digital is often
Yeah.
dictate which stores I highlight, which can push media outlets to produce content, which can affect the traffic clicks rather than quality reporting.
Yeah.
Sometimes if someone has like a platform digital in Facebook or Twitter or
Yeah.
TikTok,
Yeah.
if he wrote like wrong information
Yeah,
or
I see.
affect information, bad information,
Yeah.
if someone sees that, maybe he can like believe, or sometimes he can't believe that, so it's going to affect. So I have like 3 months ago, I see in my platform of my
Yeah.
friends of mine,
Yeah.
he wrote that
Yeah.
our teacher, he
Yeah.
date.
Yeah.
So I believe that, so I take like a screenshot and I put in my account
Yeah.
to show my other friends to
Yeah.
see that our teacher has already dead,
Yeah.
and we don't know that. So okay, at that time some of my friends
Yeah.
come to me and say that our teacher is still alive and
Yeah.
this wrong information.
Yeah.
Did you like imagine
Okay,
that yourself,
yeah.
you're die and someone like write
I see.
information? So
I
at
see.
some time I'm going to write like I am so sorry, this misinformation,
Yeah.
and so it is wrong.
So I think that it's not just you, because I have heard that also friend of mine, their post in Facebook that his date, the same information or the same example which you give me.
Yes.
So I shocked from the first time I saw that, and really I shocked when I hear that my friend's dead, and we was not have a long time to meet.
Yeah.
So I found him in the street, and I told him that I found you that in Facebook that some maybe friends of you was that you was dead. I don't know they are playing or what. So
Yeah.
he told me that even this habit or which is their friends did affect their family in
Family.
yeah, because their family in Sudan, as you know, and he's here alone. Yeah, really is going to make problems. So I think that also during, if you remember, during the COVID-19,
Yeah.
during the COVID-19 also COVID-19 pandemic, people posted in Facebook also there.
It's also to replace traditional repent or revenues. The digital are leads of profitable,
Yeah.
which can affect the economic also, and it is viability of organization.
Mm.
It sounds like when I put, it seems like a platform of I put wrong thing,
Yeah.
or I work in social media to get
Yeah.
money. If my account to be like good, bad health,
Yeah.
and also to put the people in bad situation.
Yeah.
So I most likely to the audience
Yeah.
or in social media to not believe anything in social media.
Yeah. There's a lot of fake information or fake news spreading there. I think also I have a point like breaking real life connection, which is inside or within the family. You know, we know that social media is going to also to connect others with white, but it's also going to affect in our household or inside our household, and that is this can lead to weakening social bonds, and you know that people now spend more and more hours interacting with friends online, and instead of attending family gathering, and I see that is also going to cause problems.
Yeah, it sounds like audience fragmentation. the digital platform promotes the brancialization,
Yeah.
the physical side of the body of the people.
Yeah.
It like leads the kids, and which he can lead his to promote, expand all his life to just promote that thing is wrong,
Yeah.
or that. It
Okay.
seems like your point, yeah.
Yeah, same. I think there's a lot of points, but I'm still searching on it. I hope, if I complete it, I will share it with you.
Also, I think
Or-
the information or the platform of audience fragmentation, it is reduce of diversity
Yeah.
of opinion
Yeah.
and harms public debate. So if they are like have public debate on social media,
Yeah.
and if anybody like anybody has like different idea to show people
Different
that.
idea, yeah.
So also if someone like writes his story
Yeah.
in his platform,
Platform.
yeah, and that story is very sad or is happy, so he doesn't see that like the comment.
Yeah.
So if you enter the comment, it is
Yeah.
like has bad comment and
Yeah.
good comment. So it's going direct to affect the
Yeah,
side
so
of
it's
the
also
brancialization.
going to impact positively.
Yeah. Okay, let me finish my homework.
So you are
and
going
see
to
you.
finish?
Yeah, I see you.
So me neither. I am still working on it.
Yeah.
I will finish it. So
Okay, thank you.
thank
for
you a
your
lot.
information.
Thank you a lot.
I want you to start looking for something. And I promise you, once you start looking for it, you'll never be able to stop seeing it everywhere you go. When's the last time you've walked into a restaurant and saw an entire table of friends on their phone? Or a group of people on the street? Or maybe even your family in the morning, each content to be in their own world, nearly unaware of the reality around them? If the majority of human interaction is nonverbal, what would happen if you removed everything but that small remainder for over a decade? As it turns out, that's the very experiment that we're living in today. I remember when I was growing up, way back in the day, a prehistoric time before everyone had a cell phone and computers were named after the year they were made in. Okay, I'm not quite a dinosaur yet, but I grew up in a unique time where half of my childhood was without the major technology and platforms that seem to rule parts of our lives today, and the other half of my childhood was rapidly slingshotted into the new age of technology. I remember from the earlier half of my childhood, life seemed different, especially human interaction. If you wanted to talk with someone, you had no other option but to physically go out and find them and spend uninterrupted time with them in the same room. And while you were there was nothing pulling your attention away. Nothing in the back of your mind reminding you that there are hundreds of other people sharing information that you might be missing out on. That degree of presence, practiced day in and day out, created a different richness to human interaction, with intricacies and nuances that seems to be slowly and gradually lost the further we progress into this new age of technological advancement. And with the meteoric rise in popularity for documentaries like The Social Dilemma, it's safe to say that this is a growing sentiment and realization within today's culture. The terrifying crux to the problem is actually quite simple. There's a massive mismatch between the rate of adaptation and advancement between our biology and technology. Because of the law of accelerating returns, the pace of advancement in information technology is exponential, and while technology continues to grow at a rapid pace, we're left still trying to figure out how it actually impacts us, especially when we're teaching algorithms to predict and modulate our behavior. I don't think that anyone's denying that social media, as well as instant communication, is extremely addictive, and its addiction falls right within the same symptoms as substance abuse. But what we don't quite know yet is how this addiction over time changes not only our behaviors through hacking our positive reinforcement centers of the brain, but how over time it changes our perception of reality itself. When we first embarked upon the social media experiment, we had far more in-person interactions under our belt than we did interactions online. So we took our in-person frame of reference and viewed all of our technological interactions through that lens. But now, in a time when we have hundreds, even thousands of friends, acquaintances, celebrities, and online personalities that we keep up with online, we have slowly over time replaced the majority of our interactions with being digital. How much do we now view our in-person interactions through our new digital lens? As a prominent example, you can look at our growingly polarized political discourse in modern times, and you see that we've already started to see the symptoms of a very binary interpretation of human interaction. It's also worrisome to think that our upcoming generation's digital presence may end up being more important than their in-person presence. So how do we stop all of this from happening? Is the answer to shut it all down, just pull the plug on big tech? I don't think that it is. The truth is, we've opened Pandora's box, and this is the reality that we're now faced with. So what's the path forward? The first step is underway: awareness. Much of classical conditioning, and if you don't know what that is, Pavlov's dogs might ring a bell, is based on the more non-conscious mechanisms of the brain. If you become conscious of how the conditioning is affecting you, it gives you a degree of control over your behavior. Beyond that, it's important to maintain that balance of in-person and digital interaction. You want the lens that you view the world from to be a full 100% of human communication. Body language, emotion, facial expression, nuanced tonality. It's what we were designed to do, and we can't let that practice atrophy, because that's what creates our sense of identity and community that gives us a healthy view of others in the world. If we can maintain that balance, we can begin to have a healthier relationship with our online presence and retain control over the influence these platforms and technologies have on us. These algorithms are based on human behavior and response, and that's something we have control over. Take some small steps today. Maybe start by uninstalling some social media platforms from your phone. Then you have to physically go log into your computer to use it, removing some of the convenience. If you're tied to your phone for work, once the day is done, find some time to spend with your family and friends, and turn your phone completely off for it. Be fully present with the people that you're with. And you just might notice that the world isn't quite as crazy as it seems, and that the life right in front of you is beautiful.
Yeah. How are you doing, bro?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
Long time.
Yeah, nice to see you, bro.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Yeah. I see something.
Good morning, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Okay, what I can do for you?
I would like to read
You, sir?
also.
Thank you. Just a minute.
So I believe social media plays an important role in generation. Social media plays an important role in diversifying of journalism, such as give to different points for all the members in society.
I get your point. But you know, fake news and rumors are spread truth on social media, and journalists may accidentally share it without checking.
But you don't have to look for that thing, because you can watch like sporting or international events on live broadcast, okay, and enjoy them without subscription.
You know, even journalists, like, they feel pressure to post news fast, and need to make a mistake and less fact check. You know that?
Yeah, but you have to look for like different idea about the social media, because you can watch also, or you can send a message to your favorite famous. For example, as or like Beyonce, like Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, like Michael Jackson. But how did I know Michael Jackson died? Because of social media. If you search about something positive, you can get something good for your mind or something interesting for you.
You know what? Social media splits between news and opinions. You know that?
Yeah.
And make it harder to for audience to separate from news and personal view.
Yeah, but everybody has own opinion. So you can't look for the opinion for the people, all the people. Like if someone tell you you are bad, you will believe him? No, don't just leave them and leave him or leave her with their opinion. So like that.
So you know what platform decide what people see? You know that? And
Thank you so much.
platform decide what people see. Meaning important news can get forwarded if it doesn't get enough likes or shares.
Yeah, but how did I know about many information or many things? Like, how did I know like about Puff Diddy's case while he inside the prison now? From social media. How did I know Trump won and became president of the United States? I think because of social media, yes, right?
Yeah, because it has been having all this history.
Yeah, we are sorry for that.
Oh, we are sad.
We're discussing about negatively how social media affect journalism negatively.
But how do you see that?
I'm supporting it.
I think social media is very important these days, because if I want about something like how did I know about Israel and Israel and all the children in Palestine?
But when social media spreads fake news, when it destroys the reputation of all media, and scriptural event or reliable outlets.
Yeah. Things like that. I respect your opinion, but also we have to listen to her opinion.
Sorry, excuse me, sir. I respect your opinion, but I'm supporting this side. I think it has positive role in journalism and media. It plays crucial role to promote like the interactions like between journalists and public. It creates question and answers. You can comment on a situation, your corporate journalism and media comments down there and you ask them. It also has some platforms like Instagram, ask me anything. You can ask me. And even it has live broadcast that the people share, or even if you have interview with someone important, like you can go to this social media that is going to interview that person, and you can ask your question there and comment and say, please ask that question, that person, like your corporate person, someone like the president of the country. The president of the country is going to be interviewed tonight, the national, and we post this and then you can write. So I think this idea, it has positive in social media. So let's discuss it. You have to.
Why you are very angry, bro?
No, you have to get it. No, it's not positive.
So I think his opinions about negative, just negative things in social media.
It has negative, but the positive is much.
Also, I tried to tell him, you will not just find the negatives in social media. If you want to search about something, about any news in the social media, you can find it. If you want information, if you want about know about religion, about any information, books, education, anyone in the social media, not just for negative things. But if he says about something negative, he will get that thing.
Yeah, even if the journalist make misplacement of information, people who are there, accident or something, can make corrections and make things right. Like if you did mistake, they can say I was there and things doesn't happen like this. So it's over. It used to before to be like people have to wait on time with radio news, television news, something like that. But today it's modern. You just hear something on homeless, then you start going to social media, and then you can see, or even you read something happening the way you are, and then you can this, then you can write in social media, then people can send to the journalists, and they have option to reply with you or contact with you or send you a message, then they can provide information. Use a contact sharing, like testimoniation. If something wrong happening there, you can just make corrections. Like we are now in this perspective. If something happening, I can go there and take the information, and people can ask me in the comment section any question about that and how things happening. That is possible because we can get someone who's there to give us information. So I think that's positive.
Yeah, that's great, lady. I agree with you, with your opinion. You have open mind, you have great mind. Keep yourself like that every day with positive
Always we have to read,
yes.
to see things and it's positive.
So I think you have to drink your coffee here.
Your favorite coffee.
How many spoons you want?
Yeah.
Yeah. And leave that person, let them leave. Okay? Thank you so much.
For all of the history up until this point, our communication structures have, for the most part, especially mass media systems, have been very top-down. And they've been controlled by a few people that had distribution control. If you look back, the church was really the first broadcast network. The church built out a very defined architecture of communication that was coming from a centralized place where very few people could have the word of God come down to them, and they had the ability to transcribe. This was at a point when literacy was very rare, and so you had only a few people that were literate that could transcribe this holy word. And then they would distribute it out to a local market where you had a big impressive building that had lots of iconography and lots of beautiful images inside of it, and the tallest building usually in the town, and they would ring the steeple at 8 a.m. and we would all congregate for Mass, and we would listen to one message from one incontrovertible truth from one source. And that's not too dissimilar from television architecture, right? You have a group of people in suits in New York or in Los Angeles, and they're deciding what's going to be on television, and then they distribute it to those towers, and at 7 p.m. prime time, we aggregate around a television that's been brought into our home, and we watch this one incontrovertible truth and this signal from a top-down approach. And when the internet started enabling people, first with this underlying network architecture of TCP/IP that allowed us to transcend time and distance, that allowed any node on the network to contribute to the system. And then we started seeing things like video sharing and photo sharing that allowed us all to become publishers. And then we had this kind of, now this layer of social that is redefining everything, where every single person is now a contributing node on the network, and every person that is part of that uses emotions and memes and content to distribute things in a horizontal fashion. And so what that's doing is that is destroying the ability to discern what is authentic, what is not, what's real, what's fake, what's commercial, what's non-commercial, what's sponsored, what's non-sponsored, what's a good idea versus a bad idea. And so when we exist in this free-form society where every node on the network can contribute something to the network, and it has no checks and balances, if you will, there is no top-down authority that's editing it or deciding what's real or not. then suddenly it becomes every node on the network's responsibility, we're having to learn a pattern of behavior that we're all responsible for the propagation of this content. Because the one interesting rule is, it's very difficult to make a mass media statement in a cellular holonic structure nodal network, because you have to get a bunch of people to agree to share it and agree to propagate it. No big media company can buy their way into the system anymore, right? But at the same time, if everyone's on a balanced playing field, then people that are hackers, or people that scam the system, or people that kind of arbitrage the new ad features that emerge, or decide to take this path, have an advantage over some of the tried and true institutions, especially in things like the context of fake news that's been happening a lot. The idea that a bunch of Macedonian teenagers that are arbitraging ad dollars on Facebook's system can put hundreds of stories into a network that people believe, these fake news stories, when a New York Times or a Wall Street Journal refuses to pay for play in a system like Facebook. And so you have this great imbalance because we haven't learned yet how to, we haven't taught ourselves yet how to discern what's real and what's fake, and how to look at sources and how to, how to see them for what they are. And that's also because of a lack of transparency. We're living in these systems now that are controlling our ability to disseminate information, and we have no transparency whatsoever when it comes to algorithms. Why does content behave this way? Why one day when I post something to 500 people does it reach, and the next day only 5 people reaches? And so until we have visibility into that system and into these algorithms, we're going to be at a bit of a loss and a bit of a kind of grabbing in the dark, trying to make sense of this new communication architecture. I quote Aldous Huxley, who paraphrase and basically says, the only part of the universe you can possibly control is yourself. And now more than ever, that kind of social responsibility is upon each one of us, right? Because we're in a holonic system, right? And a cellular holonic system that we are all responsible for the propagation of the right information, positive information, negative information, fake information. We're all responsible for it, right? Because we're all part of a metabolic factor inside of the system. The sharing of these memes is propelled by emotions. So human emotions are the metabolism of this system. And you can tap into human curiosity and human, the whole range of emotions from, anger to laughter to, desire. And so we're seeing that played out in real time right now.
Yes. You reach well your mood has to talk to you. Where are you?
Yes, I feel it. Okay, let me come. Yeah, I'm coming to fix you my office. Let me come. Red clothes, eh? Yes, I'm wearing red clothes. Let me come. I'm going to find you. Yeah, I'm coming. Welcome. You kindly welcome. Please have a seat. My name is Rhoda William Den. Let me know how can I help you. This one is my office. Let me know how can I help you.
Actually, you're looking for a shop for rent. If you have one available, you'll be happy to take it.
Okay. Before I show you, because here this place they are all empty. This shop all. Before I show you, I want to know which kind of job will bring you to my shop. Okay.
Now, as you know, we are from America, and we want to create an affiliation of our enterprise in Uganda. So our enterprise is called Amazon. As you know, Amazon is one of the best company in the world, where you can buy your things in another country and do not receive from another country. So we are here, we are looking for the shop, and we found good to get a shop from you.
Okay, the whole shop I'm going to show you. We are going to stand up and you are going to see. I'm going to show you and follow me. This one is 1 million. This one is $300. This one is $400. This one is 1 million. This one is 1 million. This one is 4. This one, you are going to select the one you like here. You are going to agree on it. The one you like.
You can take that for 1 million. That one, yeah, that one.
Yeah, but my agreement is like 1 year or 2 years.
That's no problem. That's no problem.
Starting 1 year up to 2 years or 6 years.
Yeah.
I don't want like some people they make corruption or they live like after 2 months. I don't like that
But
way.
you know, Amazon is one of the best companies in the world. You get to
A serious company.
Yeah.
It's okay.
We are always ready for long term, whatever.
So now we are going to office and we make agreement. After that, we are going to agree the money. We are going to make like a 2 year or 3 years. We are going to see, or we are going to make agreement in the office. You come to the office, and we are going to see and make a deal. Now you are already see the place. You are already see the shop. I'm going to know, and even you are going to know my condition is the business. I'm going to show you the condition is here. After that, we are going to agree.
Okay, your agreement condition is clear and it's suitable with us. Now you are ready to sign. You don't have a problem.
Me, I don't have problem. My agreement is here. You already see it. Because I cannot do this job alone. I have my lawyer. Before you sign, I'm going to call him, and we are going to make agreement together. The payment.
Yes, you can use our bank account. You can just send it by our phone.
Also, we can do the transaction payment now. We have to go back and discuss about this our head office, it's USA, and then we send you your money about this credit card. So tell us if you have account in which platform, social media platforms. By that way, we can contact with you and get your personal details like credit card number, and we send you the money.
Me, I cannot do that because I cannot do social media. Social media as a general as a negative policy. General social media as a general negative consequence.
Nowadays, how you promote your business?
How you attract clients?
My business, I promote like a TV channel, radio, and even I use brokers. I use brokers to make connect with my business. I cannot use social media.
I think if you use radio and you don't use social media, it will be difficult for you to attract clients because The social media gives you the opportunity to attract clients from another countries, and even the price, the cost is expensive than social media, because when you are doing it, you must produce. You know what I mean? You must produce, and after that, you also have to print copies to show people that you are your business, to show them your business, and that I think is not a good idea, because you will just limit on your area. You will not attract clients for another country.
That one is going to make me a generation trust. I cannot do that.
Such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you can attract more clients from different countries. And even you don't need to know their language, because nowadays social media platform, they have a golden feature called translation, automatic translation. You need just put your post or your content in one of those social media platforms, and the client they receive the content by their language.
That one is going to give me like distortion. It's going to give me distortion of reality. This one I cannot do that.
How do you do now when you want to make transaction with people of another country? Because when you are doing business, you are in relation with other people of other countries. So when you want to make payment, you are obliged to give the money for another person to go with that up to reach the client. I think it will be difficult, but if you just use your bank account, firstly it's easy. You'll join your clients easily. You listen what I mean? Yeah. You will join the client easily, and you will not the cost will be not expensive than that.
The what I cannot do, because it's meant for polarization of public opinion. That's why it's making like a polarization of public opinion.
But I think also when you are making payments, you don't have to work with money, because it's unsafe. This is what I mean. It's unsafe. You must have a bank account where you are making transactions.
Yeah, that one is going to be great one. The what I need you now to do for me, because I don't know how to create it. Because now I'm a businesswoman. Like now you see my place, the shop, all some they are empty without people. Because of that, it's a good idea. I can agree to make, but I don't know how to use it.
Yes, we can create for you a bank account, and also we can create for you pages or channels to attract more clients of other countries. So what you have to do is just go on Google and search for one of platforms which you can choose.
How can I do that?
Just with your phone.
Okay. I'm going to thank you for advice.
Our pleasure. So after that we go to doing payment.
This one is my number. This one phone number.
Fine, thank you.
Growing up at my house, we had 4 square meals a day: breakfast, lunch, dinner, and the news. It was part of my family's daily ritual. Every morning, the newspaper was delivered to our homes, still smelling of fresh newsprint. And in the evenings, without fail, my parents would turn on the TV to watch the news at 6 and 11 o'clock sharp. The bold-faced bylines I read and knowing faces I saw soon became like old friends. As a curious kid, I trusted them to tell me the most important news of the day. But as a budding journalist, I looked to them for much more than just that. These reporters and the outlets they work for represented the gold standard in news: fast, accurate, and reliable. They loom large in my mind as I work towards my lifelong goal of becoming a professional storyteller, while running my high school paper, while managing a campus magazine, while volunteering at news stations. Everyone around me reinforced their prestige, especially at journalism school, where these outlets were discussed with open reverence. So when I finally got to join Canada's storied institutions, and I reported for several, I felt a deep sense of achievement. My dreams were finally coming true. The experiences I had were invaluable, and I was privileged to work with the best in the business. But looking around these newsrooms, I noticed there was something missing, and that something was people like me, people of color. I was always one of a handful of visible minorities in any newsroom, and the unfortunate truth is, this isn't out of the ordinary. Although visible minorities make up 2/5 of the total US population, they only represent 12% of the newspaper workforce. That's virtually the same as it was 2 decades ago. And the number of management roles is even smaller, with only 10% filled by minorities. The situation in TV news is a bit better, with minorities making up 22% of the total workforce at local stations, but that number has also stayed mostly unchanged over the years. Here in Canada, it's a bit better. I mean, it's actually much worse, is what I'm trying to say. We actually don't even have a consistent tally of minority representation in newsrooms. Ultimately, it comes down to this. Few minority journalists mean fewer minority perspectives, so we're not getting the full picture. Essential voices are missing from the news, and so is essential information. That said, in an industry suffering from heavy job losses, it's hard for all journalists, minority or not, to find permanent full-time work. So as a young journalist, I jumped at the first opportunity for something more stable. That ended up being a reporter-editor position with a growing online news publication that now has 42 million monthly unique visitors from around the world. Although I was excited, yay, employment, I was also nervous, having come from a traditional media background. I wasn't sure how others, especially other journalists, would react. Would they look down on me? Would they think I turned to the dark side, condemned to make listicles and cat gifs for all eternity? Would they even consider, it's a great gif, would they even consider online publications to be legitimate sources of news? But after working in new media over the past 3 years, the worries I had at the beginning have completely disappeared. I now know that online journalism gives everyone a voice, including minorities and others who aren't well represented. So why is that? In my experience, traditional media outlets tend to have a dozen or so editors who call the shots. They decide what's newsworthy. Although these editors are highly educated and highly experienced, they're also mostly white and mostly men. So the news is filtered through this lens. Where I work, we also have a team of editors, but we also rely heavily on other tools as well. We measure and analyze web traffic, looking at how our audience responds to stories, and we also monitor online trends in real time. So not only are we considering our own news judgment when deciding the day's stories, we're also considering our readers' news judgment. The news has now been democratized. It's gone from an exclusive group of privileged editors to anyone with an internet connection. And the latter is much more diverse. Stories that have historically been ignored by the media are now getting attention. Minority readers demand articles that reflect their experiences. They're telling us what they want, and we're listening. I'll give you an example. Last year, I wrote an article about crowdfunding sites targeted to specific ethnicities. These sites were started to fight barriers to funding that minority businesses usually face. It's a fascinating story that received almost no previous coverage by traditional media outlets, even though crowdfunding sites were a global phenomenon and most people already knew about it. When we first published my story, it received more than 3,300 shares. Readers were responding. But that's not the most impressive part. We also hosted a Twitter chat to discuss my story using the hashtag #StartupDiversity. That generated tens of millions of impressions, and at least 1,200 tweets with the hashtag were published in just 1 hour. The proof is in the data. People care about these stories. Another example of this bottom-up approach to news was recent coverage of police killings of minorities. When unarmed Black teenager Trayvon Martin was fatally shot by a community watchman in late February 2012, media coverage of his death was scant. In fact, it took almost an entire month before the term Trayvon Martin even registered online. But by late March, social media helped propel an overlooked news story into one that was the center of global conversation. Over time, though, the story faded from the headlines. But recently, online momentum has kept minority deaths in the news. When Michael Brown, another unarmed Black teen, was fatally shot by a police officer last August, media coverage was consistently focused on police killings of minorities. Eric Garner, Tamir Rice, Walter Scott, Antonio Zambrano Montes, and many others have not disappeared, and that's largely due to online chatter. At this point, you may be thinking, Anita, traditional media outlets use analytics and other digital tools too, and you'd be mostly right, but old habits die hard. Editors still have the final say on what makes the front page, and producers still have the final say on what leads the newscast. In comparison, readers drive the layout of our homepage. The stories they click on the most move to prime spots. Readers decide themselves what they think is important. One major criticism of online publications is that they pander too much to readers. Won't we see an influx of twerking videos or goat pics if we give the people what they want? This criticism is legitimate and one that journalists and industry watchers frequently debate about, but the pros outweigh the cons. Fun, frivolous content may rise to the top, but so will important stories that wouldn't normally make the front page of a newspaper or lead the newscast. This shift away from prioritizing the judgment of a select few is so necessary. We need to keep up this momentum and continue producing stories that everyone cares about. We need to listen to all voices. Let's embrace a new front page. Thank you.
Hello, Ridwan.
Yeah, Mr. Abdul Noor.
How are you, brother?
Yeah, it's good. How are you?
I'm really doing well. I see you nowadays. Where have you been?
Okay, it's good.
I was sitting in the restaurant, so I want to meet you today. Is it possible?
Okay. I agree with that. No problem. I will see you in the office.
Okay, I'm waiting with you. Thank you.
Okay.
So, this is my brother. I'm doing good. This is my friend Ridwan. This is my secretary. It's good to see you. Today I called you to discuss business contract for your company. So I see you have a potential for our also traditional journalists. But I have paid you. So can we talk about that?
Of course, that's a great opportunity to be with you here in your company, and I'm serious to have this to share relationship, to make a relationship with your company. I'm able to do this work with you.
I really appreciate your effort. I really appreciate what you are doing. I see you as a potential company, so I want you to make an agreement. So at that point we can benefit from your site, also our campus. So we can discuss.
Yeah, of course. It's like, we have millions of users and we have a large variety of knowledge in this specialization. And just like, the traditional journalism is have impact in users, in social media users. This will be benefit for you if you want to build users. In traditional can impact negatively on social media users or mediums, and that is exaggeration and sensationalism. Some newspaper and magazine relies on shocking or exaggerated headlines to attract attentions. That leads to spread of misleading or distorted information, which damages journalism credibility. And in other hand, this influence of algorithms, social media uses algorithms that favor contact that to generate engagement. And traditional journalism media outlets may be predecessor to produce contact that able to algorithms, and rather than to focus on investigating journalism or in-depth processes. In some cases, traditional media outlets can use their influence on social media to implement public opinion or promote heading guarantees, which can indicate public truth. So in this case, we can make a relationship with your company. As we know that we can impact in your users like negatively or something like that, but you have to pay money for this.
I really appreciate what you said, and I really understand your position. So I want to say also, traditional journalism, like what we are doing now, FM radio, has a significant impact for the social media users. So we can influence your users as a positive way. As you know, we as a traditional journalists, we pay a credibility and reliability source. We pay a credible information with verified sources, and also that reliable information that your users will be benefited. Also, we pay in-depth analysis. As you know, in-depth, we also pay in-depth reporting. We have the best reporting system as our traditional media outlets. Also, we as a traditional journalist, your users will benefit us for educational purpose. As you know, we give the users of social media as an educational purpose in everywhere, whatever they are, and they can use as an educational and research. Well researches, they can use them for positively money. And also, we can, as a traditional journalist, we impact your users as a critical and also professional standards. You know, in traditional journalists, our people are well trained all over the world. So, as that, we can also give we can give traditional journalists traditional journalism promotes high ethical standards and and the social media content creators adopt, thereby become more informed and also encourages users to be well-versed and also ethical persons. And at that situation, I can say we'll give you a 5-year contract, and then we'll give you 1 million and a half.
Okay, for this, just like you know, we are doing a lot of things in our company, and this will need a lot of money. Okay, so you have to pay 3 millions. So you have to pay 3 millions for us to make this work together. But even this, else of this, I can reject the contract. Okay.
3 million is a little bit high. Really, it's a little bit high.
At the same time, we do a lot of things. You know, we also have a relationship with many companies that highlight users, okay, and audience at the same time. But this will need money. You have to pay 3 millions in the list.
But it seems like it's very high, as you know. Ibtisam, this is my secretary. What do you want to say?
Thank you, Mr. Ridwan. Welcome to meet our company. I would like to add something for information. Victims of suffering from self-depression, anxiety, stress, the emotion can be profound, long and lasting. Heart is my best person in breathing information, which can be backed.
Thank you for your advice, for your information, and let me think about this. Okay, no problem. Now I will take my decisions to take $2,500,000 in 5 years. Thank you, and I'm glad to take this contract. I hope you are get agreement.
Thank you. We'll agree with you, and we will hope as soon as possible we will sign the contract. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We are appreciate and we are work for this hard. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's not just in your head. When it comes to how we all experience life, bad is generally stronger than good. We remember trauma more than we remember joy. We're brought down by criticism more than we're elevated by praise. And we pay more attention to bad news than good. A new book called The Power of Bad by journalist John Tierney and psychologist Roy F. Baumeister explores the negativity effect, or the universal tendency for negative events and emotions to affect us more strongly than positive ones. The negativity effect shapes everything we do, from our personal relationships to how we do our careers, to how we vote, to what media we consume. But The Power of Bad isn't just one more cause for despair. The book's subtitle is How the Negativity Effect Rules Us and How We Can Rule It. And it offers practical tips on all sorts of ways to approach life so that we can be happy, productive, and well-adjusted. I sat down with John Tierney, a contributing editor at the Manhattan Institute City Journal and a former New York Times columnist and reporter, to talk about the root causes of the negativity effect and how to combat it. John Tierney, thanks for talking to Reason.
Thanks.
So explain the negativity effect. What is it?
It's the universal tendency for bad events, bad emotions to affect us more strongly than good ones. It's also called negativity bias. It's basically this tendency that that bad parenting makes a big difference, good parenting doesn't. Criticism hurts so much more than praise does. There's much more brain activity when you see something negative than when you see something positive.
Can you give some concrete examples of this? Where bad clearly overpowers good?
Well, a bad first impression is really tough to shake, whereas a good first impression can be overcome, very
You can
quickly.
always screw it up later.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. And penalties work a lot better than rewards as far as motivating people. And we have a chapter in the book about how, looking at the history of religions that preach hell grow much faster than ones that basically promise you eternal rewards. People, that's what fills the pews. The brain just evolved to respond to bad things.
You talk about at various points a 4-to-1 ratio, a 5-to-1 ratio of where it's like 4 bad things. Oh, you need, or rather, 1 bad thing. You need 4 or 5 good things to overcome it. What are some cases where that's the case?
Well, they found it, for instance, studying people's diaries. When they count up workers' diaries, and they count up the good things that happen and the bad things, and then people's overall mood after that. And they find that it takes about 4 good things to make up for 1 setback at work. 1 bad moment at work takes 4 good things to overcome that. Basically, people who are happy tend to have 3 or 4 times more good emotions than bad emotions, and more good days than bad days. Roy kind of stumbled into this early on, where he was in this relationship and he wasn't sure whether to stay or not, because he was happy most of the time, but there were some really bad days. And he just started counting, is today a good day or a bad day? And he found that it was 2-to-1, and he just felt this isn't really enough.
Yeah. And you guys even talk about how in the sex is not, sex can help, but good sex isn't going to save a relationship.
Right. Bad sex matters a lot more than good sex. But that's another example of the 4-to-1 rule. That in fact, psychologists talk about or therapists talk about the 4 fucks for every fight rule. Basically, that
not my therapist, but I'm glad to hear it exists.
But it's not. Some people have very little sex, but they don't fight, and so they get along. Some people have more sex, but they so it's really the ratio that matters. It's called the positivity ratio that psychologists study, and that's really what determines how happy you are, how well something's going. It's a good way to measure progress.
And some of, a lot of the book, we're going to get into the larger kind of social and political implications of a lot of the work here, but a lot of it is almost, I don't want to say self-help, but it's news you can use both in your relationships and at the job.
Right. We're trying to tell people how that in relationships, first do no harm, that it's the bad stuff that really matters, and that avoiding bad is so much more important than doing good. Like, you don't get extra credit for going the extra mile, for doing more than you promised, but you pay a really big price when you don't.
But then it seems, in a way, you confound yourselves or contradict yourselves, because you talk about a high school football coach who is famous for always trying on the 4th down.
Right.
And you guys look at the numbers, and it turns out statistically it actually makes sense for football teams to go for it on 4th down.
Right.
Almost always, but almost nobody does. Why don't more coaches go on 4th and a yard?
Well, that's one consequence of the negativity effect. We call it safety addiction. The people get so obsessed with, what's the worst outcome that could happen, what's the bad outcome. They fixate on that, and therefore they're very irrational in their safety addiction, that I just don't want to risk that. Lenore Skenazy at Reason has written about how parents are obsessed about letting their kids walk to school because they're so obsessed with the chance that a stranger will abduct them.
So if you have one kid who is brutally kidnapped and disappears forever, you need to have at least 4 more kids to make up for it, right?
Not exactly. That's not in the book. Okay?
Explain the Garcia effect and how that fits into, the themes of your book.
Back during the glory days of behaviorism, when everyone was studying how rats responded to rewards and punishments, there was this idea that you had to have instantaneous reward or punishment for a rat for it to happen. And they were doing these experiments with rats, and they noticed that they were subjecting them to radiation, and they noticed that, that some rats, when they drank from this sweet liquid and then later got radiation and got really sick, they would never drink from that same plastic thing with the liquid again. And yet the pain, from drinking from that, and it had nothing to do with it, but they associated it with it. But the weird thing was, is that it was supposed to happen within like 2 seconds. You had to do a reward or punishment. And this happened months later, and people thought Garcia was making this up, there was something wrong, but they found that something bad, that radiation stuff was so bad that people actually could learn, that the learning could actually take place months later. Whereas you can never do that with good. I mean, a reward would never work that way unless you gave it immediately after it, but the penalty, the pain was so much stronger that it actually worked later.
And as a result, I mean, or this comes into play when people, if they drink too much, they blame whatever liquor they happen to be blaming and saying.
Right, when you get sick once on one kind of liquor, then people don't. I mean, I don't drink gin because of one, time in college when that happened. And I think that's like one bad thing can make so much difference that you just won't touch it again.
Let's talk about where the negativity effect or the negativity bias comes from. You mentioned, part of this is evolution. What does that mean? And if it's evolution, can we really change anything?
Well, it's definitely adaptive because, I mean, the people who survived on the ancestral savanna were people who paid more attention to.
They were the ones who fucked more than they fought.
They did that too, yes, and they also, but they were very alert to threats because one mistake can kill you, and in that sense, it's still useful because one mistake can still really hurt you at work, or can still hurt you. It can be fatal, too. But the problem, the analogy we draw is that it was useful in the ancient savanna to fatten up on calories during lean times, but it's not so useful today when you're surrounded by junk food all the time. And today we're just surrounded by bad all the time.
Well, one of the bad things that you particularly point out has to do with social media. You guys are critical of social media, although not in the way that a lot of people are. But talk about how does social media kind of amplify or screw with the negativity effect?
I mean, it's amplified in the sense that you get this instantaneous reaction and that people can use it as a platform to go negative, and it's an easy way to get instant attention. But the interesting thing about social media versus mass media is that mass media appeals to our common interests. You've got to go to mass, and the things that we all share, those interests, tend to be negative. We're all afraid of dying, we're all afraid of crime, we're all afraid. That's what mass media goes for. But the things that the good things that interest us, our cultural passions, and we're interested in science or in a certain kind of art, those things are much more individualistic, and that's what social media is better at. And so people tend to be more positive on social media than mass media. People tend to share positive stories much more than negative stories. The mass media is filled with bad news. But social media, most people, now the people who really dominate Twitter, these sort of pundits who are slugging it out, they're trolls, they're negative. But on social media, people who post more positive stuff on Twitter, they actually get more followers and retweeted more often than negative stuff, because people don't share pictures of school shootings. They tend to share stuff that they're passionate about, books that they like, and people on social media are looking on YouTube, they're looking at how-to videos, at comic videos, the stuff that they really like, as opposed to negative, scare stories.
And even in mass media, you point out, you point to studies of kind of counts of negative terms versus positive terms in places like the New York Times. And the news is actually more positive than it is negative, right?
Right. There is this thing called the Pollyanna principle that researchers started counting the number of positive and negative words that people use, and they've sort of expanded this to massive database things looking at all media. And the surprising thing is that people use positive words more often than negative words in every kind of medium. And even when you look at tragic novels, there's still, the endings are pretty bad, but most of it is fairly positive. And I think this evolved. It's our natural defense against negativity that we basically try to and that's the secret to overcoming the negativity effect, is overwhelming it with positivity. And we do have this natural tendency because we're social animals. I mean, people don't like being around people who are downers. So you basically, there's a social reward for being upbeat, for using positive words. And I think we naturally tend to do that. Even on days when there's a terrorist attack or something, Twitter immediately goes negative, but then it tends to rebound because people start posting stories about someone who saved someone's life during this. We have this natural tendency to want to deal with that somehow.
Another factor on why negativity wins, or the power of bad overwhelms, is capitalism itself, really. You quote a line in the book saying, no food, one problem, much food, many problems. How does, you are a fan of capitalism, you're a defender, a proponent of it. How is capitalism implicated in the power of bad?
I mean, one way is simply that it's an easy way to get people's attention. When you're selling something, it's basically scare. You know, you have bad breath, you have this problem, and I'm going to scare you about it and get you to buy a product. But the larger way is that, as you say, that as you solve basic problems like like where's the next meal come from, our brain has this natural tendency to start looking for problems, and so we start finding new problems. You know, there was a great experiment Dan Gilbert did where he was asking people to identify all the blue dots you saw, and they would reduce the prevalence of the blue dots as time went on, and people would keep seeing the same number of them. They start identifying purple dots as blue. He calls it prevalence-induced concept change, and basically that the richer you get, the more first-world problems you find.
So let's talk about some of the ways to combat the negativity effect, because your subtitle is How the Negativity Effect Rules Us and How We Can Rule It. Some of the ways to combat the negativity effect, you talk about prizes over penalties. What do you mean by that?
Penalties work better than prizes, but we tend, there's been this whole everybody gets a trophy movement, and it comes out of the self-esteem movement, and which is one of the sorrier mistakes in psychology. And parents and teachers.
I just want to point out, I would have no trophies if not for participation trophies, so screw you. But continue.
And you would be so much better off today if you hadn't gotten those false rewards.
That's what's holding me back.
Exactly.
You also talk about combating the negativity effect by delivering good news last, but not always. But what is it about when you're giving people good news and bad news? Why does it make sense to deliver good news second?
And well, the classic example of this is the criticism sandwich, which managers used to give, which is that you start out with some good stuff, that then you sandwich in a little criticism, and you end with a little good stuff. But the problem is that once you hear criticism affects you so strongly that when you hear that, it basically you forget what you heard before that. So so someone who gets this and they can say you did all these things right, but here's a problem. That's all they remember. So basically, and most people would also rather hear the bad news first. Most of us would rather give good news first because it's easier to start that way. But people want to get the bad stuff out of the way, and then after they get the bad stuff, their brain's on high alert, and then the good stuff can sink in once the brain is on alert that way.
You talk about, there's a great chapter in the book about a place called the Casablanca Hotel, which is here in New York City, and it's the Casablanca Hotel versus the Moon Lady. How is this an object lesson in how to overcome the power of bad?
The Casablanca has been in the top 10, usually the number one hotel in New York in TripAdvisor for more than a decade, and they are just fanatics about overcoming the negativity effect, because what kills you is a few bad reviews, and so they are just fanatics from the moment you call that hotel to make a reservation. When you arrive, the guy who greets you at the door, at the front desk, they want to eliminate any bad thing at all that could happen, and they have every single step of the way, and they mingle with the guests every day at receptions. It's all about trying to avoid any bad thing at all and avoid those negative reviews.
And the Moon Lady left a particularly bad review.
This crazy woman, showed up at midnight and wanted a room with a view of the moon. And they said, well, and this is in the middle of Manhattan, surrounded by skyscrapers. And they gave her a room, and then she posted a review claiming there were no windows at all in the room, which was just ridiculous. But that kind of review can kill a hotel, because it just, a 1-star review makes so much more difference than a 5-star review. And so, but they basically have managed, and her review stayed up, but they have just swamped it with so many positive reviews, and that's sort of the key to online success, is avoiding the negative.
You mentioned in passing the Pollyanna principle. What is that, and how does that work in this context?
I mean, that's the brain's natural tendency to fight back by overwhelming bad with good stuff. And it specifically refers to this idea that we use language more often, good words more often than bad words. And we expand it to this whole idea of Pollyanna, which is this dreadful novel and movie about this girl who plays the glad game, and she's glad about everything that happens. And it's really, it's awful. People have always hated this book because it seems so false.
You tell the story of the first people to make a silent movie of it. We're like gagging as
Mary
they were
Pickford
filming it.
Was nauseated, the star, but
was
it
a
made
big
her
hit.
career, and it's always been this huge hit.
And that's like being looking at the upside.
Right.
Of things.
It's whatever happens, you're glad that it happens. And as bad as it sounds, I mean, the reason that movie succeeded so much is that it does express this fundamental truth. And psychologists have found a bunch of glad games for people to play.
Yeah, and then that's the glad game is another way of talking about this. That includes things like changing the narrative, sharing good news, rejoicing in other people's good news, listing blessings and gratitude, having nostalgia, but not getting stuck in the past. Could you talk a little bit about, we're often told if you have nostalgia, you're screwed because you're always looking backwards and you're stuck in the past. Why is a certain amount of nostalgia a good thing?
Well, that was the old view, that it was considered this pathology, and there were all these bizarre explanations. It was a sign of depression. And then in the last 10 or 20 years, they've been doing experiments, and they found that actually nostalgia really, that it lifts your spirits and that it makes you more optimistic. It actually makes you feel warmer when you're in a cold room. And people who engage in nostalgia more often tend to be happier. That's one reason that older people tend to be happier than younger people, is that they engage in more nostalgia. And you're basically just enjoying those memories from the past. Now, the bad kind of nostalgia is when you're thinking, oh, those are the days, we'll never get them back. And, a better way is to just think that was a great time. I'm enjoying that. And sharing it with someone else is great too. You both remember those moments.
You talk critically about the crisis industry, or what you call the crisis industry. And you compare a woman named Patty Wetterling to the creators of Megan's Law. Can you explain who Patty Wetterling is and why she's somebody we should model ourselves on?
Right. Her son was killed in one of these awful stories of a child being abducted, and there was a law passed named after her son, and she was there in the Rose Garden when they signed Megan's Law. She was one of the activists for that.
And this helped create national sex offender
registries. Right, the whole registry. Yeah. And so she was, of course, all for that, and then she realized, and then she started to see, and Lenore Skenazy and Reason have written a lot about this, that these laws have just turned out to be awful things that are ensnaring all these people and ruining people's lives. And she has now turned into a crusader against it. And one of the proposals in the book that we have is called Let's Enact Patty's Law, which would be a law forbidding any law from being named after a child or anyone else. Because it's one of the cheapest emotional tricks is to name a law after a victim. Because how do you vote against a victim? So,
you also talk about maintaining a low bad diet. What does that mean, and can I have ice cream on that?
A low bad diet is basically curating the news. I mean, it's a general concept for your life, is trying to avoid bad things you do, trying to avoid overreacting to bad things, and trying basically to get a good positivity ratio. And you can do that especially in the media you consume, by choosing whom you follow, by choosing what you watch, and trying to keep the ratio of bad stuff. I mean, when there's a terrorist shooting or a school shooting, don't wallow watching live coverage.
Here is a question for you. When you blow this stuff up from kind of the personal world or your work world to the political world, it's clear that politicians mostly they traffic in a lot of bad stuff. They say, if we don't do this, crisis will happen, or we're already in a crisis. You guys mentioned the vaping epidemic right now, et cetera. Why do people assume that political solutions will work if we're wired to being pessimistic or negative about most actions that people take?
I mean, the Chicken Little, story is a great parable, I think, where she overinterprets this crisis. An acorn falls on her head. She says the sky is falling. And then there's this classic reaction, something must be done. This is something, therefore it must be done. And what happens is that the fox comes along and says, you can all seek shelter in my den. And that's what happens when there's a crisis, that there's this crisis industry of journalists, activists, politicians who declare a crisis, and then they offer a solution for it that benefits some special interest, like the fox, or it benefits politicians, and it grows the government. It's one of the things in my career that when I first started in the newspaper business as an intern, I found myself shamelessly hyping this weather story. And I was thinking, why am I doing that? I'm trying to turn this routine thing into a crisis.
What do you mean by that? Talk about the weather.
Well, it was a silly story. I was at the Philadelphia Bulletin, and as a low man on the totem pole, I was assigned to write, there was a heat wave in August, and I had to write about it. And so I was calling the police at the Jersey Shore for, what's going on? Everybody's fleeing to the shore. And I started asking, the desk sergeant, is this the worst traffic you've ever seen? And most of them say, it's always bad in August. But one guy says, yeah, it's the worst I've ever seen. And my story the next day is in what police called the worst traffic in history. And even then I knew how sleazy this was. But and I just started wondering, why does this happen? Why do we hype this stuff so much? And then a lot of my career in journalism has been observing that every crisis that you see in the news, when you look into it, it's not as bad as it seems. I mean, our rules are that the world will always seem to be in crisis. The crisis is never as bad as it sounds, and the solution could easily make things worse.
Could you talk, the biggest story now, and there are like nothing but big, gigantic stories, kind of rolling around now, but is probably global warming or climate change. Very quickly, because the people who talk about it say, we have 10 or 12 years before it's all over, baby. Why are they wrong, and why should we be skeptical of the Green New Deal or other fixes to, make the weather perfect again?
Right. Well, the same people doing this are the people who previously told us that we were going to starve to death because of overpopulation. The billions were going to starve to death, and then there was the energy crisis where we're all going to run out of energy. And when those things didn't pan out, I mean, what happens is there is this crisis industry, and as soon as one thing doesn't happen, they pivot to another. Now I agree with Ron Bailey at Reason that climate change is a real problem. It's not a catastrophe at the moment, but with the long-term thing, there are problems. But it's a classic case where turning into a crisis doesn't work. There have been so many bad predictions and so many attempts to blame every little bit of weather for it that a lot of people simply don't take it seriously anymore. So further, and the other thing is that the solutions that the crisis mongers are pushing are completely unrealistic. So, they're pushing, solar power and wind power, and Greens, for instance, in Germany and in Europe, they're against fracking, they're against natural gas and nuclear power, which are the only two practical methods at the moment of making a large-scale difference. I mean, the U.S. is actually doing much better at reducing emissions than Europe is because we're not listening to the green prescription. And so what happens is that they're seizing this crisis, this supposed crisis, to basically line their own pockets and to create more jobs for themselves.
Right, and literally to advance an agenda that has nothing to do with climate change, right? So
exactly.
A guaranteed job program and things like that. You obviously you have decades of experience as a journalist, and you both, I guess, abetted certain kinds of scaremongering as well as you spent. I mean, you're best known for kind of puncturing a lot of scary myths. Roy Baumeister, psychologist. A lot of the book relies on relatively new psychological research. How do we know, I mean, as a lay reader, how do you know how to sift through what's good and what's kind of junk science? Because there's, psychologists are putting out papers every day. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. All of them kind of get treated equally in the press.
Right, it's very tough. I mean, one thing is that bad news, of course, always gets more attention. And in writing about this, about social media, for instance, I started looking into it, and my inclination was, social media is bad for us. We're seeing all these things of Facebook depression and Instagram envy. And then I started looking more, and I found people who'd done meta-analyses, and they said, really, this stuff doesn't really hold up. Teenagers, some people are affected by social media, but really still the main thing that teenagers are affected by is people in their real life. And so teenagers have always had this. So I think, it's hard to sift out this stuff. I think you have to try and rely on not just one study, not on one small experiment involving college students, but you have to look at someone who's really surveyed something that's been replicated. And I mean, the negativity effect, to toot my own horn, there have been hundreds of studies on that now that, basically confirming it, So
it's a full-blown mass hysteria, so we must believe it.
Exactly. If enough people do.
We'll leave it there. We've been talking with John Tierney. He is the author, most recently, of The Power of Bad, How the Negativity Effect Rules Us and How We Can Rule It. John, thanks for talking.
Thank you.
For Reason, I'm Nick Gillespie.
Good afternoon. How are you
someone published about this store, Jika Fashion Pride Center. I don't know if
Yeah.
it is located.
Yeah, we share posts in our official page. Okay, come have a seat.
Thank you.
How I can help you?
I'm looking for some items or clothes, should I say? Sorry.
For feminine.
Yes, for family, for my wife.
As a gift or like just buying shopping like so?
So let me check if you have it here.
You want it as a gift or like?
No, as a gift. If they want to surprise her. Yes, if they want to surprise her.
Okay. I can show you different styles.
She has already some here, so I can't buy. Yes, I can't buy twice. So I prefer
To buy for her something special.
Come on again.
Like you want to buy for her like something special as a gift.
Yes, as a gift, but there is no what.
You didn't see our post? We sent like we shared like many symbols.
Yes, but I've seen, but here there is no
For that.
photo.
Sorry.
Yes.
Can interest in the social media.
Yes, thank you. How is life? How is job here? How is life? How is job here?
It's good. It's going really, you know. It's life.
That is great.
Yeah.
How long you were here with your store?
For me, like 3 years.
3 years. Okay. So may I ask you a question if you don't mind?
Of course, you can.
Okay. So when I saw on Facebook what you posted, so for me I think nowadays it is a good way, okay, it's a good way to share the business, to connect.
No, for me, I don't interest very well in the social media, you know. Yes, my marketing manager tells me that if you post like on a social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you know, you get many customers. This is the marketing, you know, plan that I don't interest really very well. For that, when you ask me, I don't know that you can't interest in the social media.
Okay, but I'm so very disappointed because why I'm here? Because I saw it on social media. That is why I'm here. And when you say you are not interested about social media, so I don't know. Because nowadays, even if you want to buy, even if you want to purchase something from Europe up to here, okay, you have to look, okay, you have to check it on social media, okay. So when I say social media, I mean Facebook, you know, Snapchat, Instagram, you know, and many so other.
Okay, I will explain it for you. For example, you saw it, the post in our special page on Facebook, you know. But when you come, it's like the reality is different. There's difference between the things we share in the social media and it's still here. You know, there's big difference. By the way, you see, like you see now, you come like you are looking for something official, but you didn't find it here. For that, I'm telling you, like interest in social media, I don't think so. That is the good thing. Sometimes, just if we get like live our life as a normal person, and we get experience, you know. But as a social media, just live in imaginary worlds, the network. I don't think that is like build a good relationships or like interest.
Okay.
That's what my main.
But for me, let me add something and to end this discussion, okay? Social media nowadays provide many things. You understand? Many things. And if you see social media, it's equal, evolution. Evolution, yes, because we can't live as our previous brothers, okay? But we have to be in this world, which one we have that obligation. We have that obligation to I don't know how to say, but to live with it. You understand? Yes, because you can't say when God brought you in this world, you wanted to be in this world. No, you didn't know.
For me,
yes, you didn't know.
I don't mean that social media is bad, but I mean like you can't interest on all of the things. Sometimes it became good, like if you are have a, like you have to do to study online, like this things. It's be better, but for me, this is my personal opinion. For me, it's better for me to open a book and read on it than to open like online lesson in the social media, because it's making you like feel I am studying, not like just you feel like that is real. This is our life. Like I'm controlling my life. Sorry. For example, like if you like find some friends in the social media, you speak like many several months, and maybe he saw you like posting something he didn't like, so he says like he's a bad person. But maybe you don't mean that bad things. He didn't come to ask you, he just immediately block you. It's not like the real friends, in the real life. Our friends in the real life, when you need them, you will find them. You can build very strong and deep relationships with them. I mean the friendships. But in the social media, they are so weak. You can't interest in anybody in the social media. Like for example, when I said he just feel like you are a bad person, he blocked you. But your friend, when you feel like he's changing, he don't pick up your phone, he don't want to speak with you, he just escape from you. Even you can go to his home and just ask him what's happening, like, and he tells you, then you can fix the relationships. But in the social media, they are weak for like you can't fix it again. For this, I'm telling you that so we have a life to live our real life and have a relationship in our real life should be better.
Okay. If you don't mind, can I advise you about social media?
Of course you can.
Yes. What I know about social media nowadays, social media is the good things, because I was like you. I had that problem as you before about social media. I didn't have some ideas about social media. Okay? But now, even if you want to go on Twitter, okay, to search some information about your country or about politics, about I don't know, management, about something like that, from there you can get. But many people nowadays, they don't want even to watch TV. Okay, you can stay here, okay, and you take your phone, you get the news by from Twitter or something like that. So you do not have to say that like social media, it hasn't any benefit, something like that. It has many benefits.
No, for me it has benefits. But what am I speaking? It's about the relationship, the interest. Okay. My point is like the social media make the world like a small village. Everyone knows each other. Everyone like learn about each other. Like even if we are like so far away from each other. But my point is like social media make us like copy from each other. Me, I looks like you. You looks like him. He looks like her. Sorry. For me, it's like destroying the traditionals. Like it's destroying. We can know like who we are. We just do that because we're afraid from judging of the people. We just send like the same post, but some of the people send the same post just because they see it like it's cool. It's like but every human have a like it's a special character. I want to be me. I don't want to be copied from another one. For that, I'm telling you that it has a like good benefits, but not all. Trust in me.
Okay, thank you for today. It was a good discussion with you. My name is Mubarak. And if you want, you can call me Nasa. I'm a Congolese DRCS.
Okay.
From there, yes.
Okay. My name is Mazanti. I am from Sudan.
That is great.
Yeah, I hope you find like a good gift for your wife
Yes, yes,
and have
I
a
hope
good
that.
day.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Wow. As we see what population will say, I am so surprised. Someone who say how you can know about Baltazar without social media. Though so there are some and many information you can get by social media, but I like again someone who say social media can give fake news. But as you are professor, what can you advise population about that?
As we know, social media has many things, good or bad. Now, we say we want to advise people to stop the bad things. First of all, especially young people, I want to advise young people to first, young people don't trust information without or harmful. There is some
Without know if the information is true.
Oh yeah, infinite. You don't have to infinite. People also don't share. As a young people, they always share some things they don't know.
Okay.
The third thing is young people, when they watch the bad things in social media, they will get brainwashed, and that's not good for study. If you are students in primary, secondary, or high school, they damage your brain, and you will get the loss. Social media, all information is not True. Yeah. Some information are very bad, and we don't want to give our people.
So as you know, now we are in television, and we have some disease in Africa like mpox. Okay, I think it is one of regarding public health.
Yeah.
So you can advise population to do what? Maybe take vaccination, or what about that disease?
That we want to give people some advice for disease. This disease, you know, in Africa, especially in East Africa, some countries, they know they get it. Then we want to tell people to wash your hands, give space, and take. Still, we don't have vaccination, but they try to get the vaccination. Before that, we want to take our advice from public health officers and this country, from this country.
Okay, thank you, Professor. As you know, we are at the end of our emission of today, and welcome to another emission. Will you accept our invitation again?
Yeah, it is my pleasure.
Okay, thank you, Professor. So I would like to say thanks to our public who will see us in the television. Maybe you are in your work, maybe you are in your home, and thank you to show, and thank you to follow us. You can find us in YouTube, in Telegram, in many platforms, but I would like thank you.